the stiff truth. Welcome to the Stiff Truth. I am Bob West, and I'm here with the fantastical, the tremendous Scott Casanova. How you doing, Scott?
Whew. Thanks for the introduction. That was a real nice one. I like being fantastical.
I call them like I see it.
Hey, all right. We're best friends now. I love that. I'm doing pretty good, man. Can't complain. It is a beautiful weekend here in the Denver area. We're going to hit 70 degrees tomorrow, and it looks like winter's bitch ass head is finally turning around and going the other direction. So can't complain about that, man. How are things going in your neck of the woods, buddy?
They're going pretty good. School's kind of winding down, so that's getting better. We're looking at our last final couple of freezes coming in the next 2 days, and then I think we will be able to plant, and we'll be done with freezing temperatures until probably November-ish. So I'm excited about that. We're going to get our planter boxes going in the new pad. You know, it's time to get the homeowner landscaping, spring cleaning done. I've got a lot of
wait, I'm sorry. It's time to get the homo is all I caught. The homeowner. Oh, I didn't get that.
The homo cleaning done.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, gotta, get the leaf blower and clean off the rocks, and there's a bunch of shit from the winter and pine needles and all this craziness that gotta make it presentable.
You gotta blow off the rocks, rake the sand and
dirt.
gravel. It's my little Zen garden outside. It's a giant Zen garden. Love that. If you think about it, you're about right. I think we'll probably have a couple more little snaps of cold before we kind of get past all that. And then if you think about it, the next time that it's going to be cooling off is right around time for Halloween. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking forward to Halloween already.
Normally we see the first snowflake sometime in the last week of October or the first week of November here. I know you guys are a little bit ahead of our schedule when it comes to the cold and behind it when it comes to the warm. But looking like Friday, they're looking at almost 80 degrees.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Tuesday, I think, is the last freezing day. And then the rest of the week, it's going to be warming up. And there's no turning back at that point. It's getting ready for camping in the lake.
Well, I was just about to say too, for being at the home, you going to be setting up that pool pretty soon, huh?
As soon as Jess sets it up, I mean, she's kind of the gatekeeper for that.
I see.
She'll set it up early to where it's too cold to swim, and she'll keep it late to where it's too cold to swim. But God bless her, she just loves the pool.
Hey, don't we all?
It's a little guy, but I did see one at my local Albertsons yesterday. I almost took a picture of it and posted it because it was just a little, Intex above ground pool. But last time, you could not find that, as you well know.
Yeah, this is very true. I still haven't gotten an alert from that company. I can't remember whatever sporting goods store it is in Texas.
Academy store.
Yeah, something like that. I put in like on multiple different models of the above ground pool. It's like, yeah, please notify me when these come back into stock. And boy, I've been waiting a long time. So whatever. But I'll tell you what, just to show you things progressing along here with the pandemic, I, sir, am having a Corona beer. Interesting, right? Facing my fears, so to speak.
Full
right
circle.
There. Eye of the storm. Look at that. Mm-hmm. I just put my mouth all over Corona. Mm-hmm. How you feeling?
Good for you.
And I don't even have my vaccine yet.
I'm feeling great. I'm half dosed. I actually
that's like a half job.
I go in Friday for
your booster,
for my last shot, my second shot, my Pfizer shot.
Pfizer. There you go. Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer. Love that girl. Yeah, that has it already been 3 weeks? Is it 3 weeks
to the day?
Wow.
It was exactly 3 weeks to the day. So I got
time flies when you're getting shots in the ass. You know what I mean?
I know. I asked for it, and they respectfully declined. So they're like, if you could just step up to this chair here, and I start pulling down my pants, and they're like, "Sir, what are you doing?"
Hey,
So
I registered for this. We're good, right?
right. I mean, if
You know,
I knew
I
it was
didn't.
going to be that kind of a party, I'd have stuck my dick in the mashed
Hey,
potatoes.
oh, I bleached my asshole for this. You know how uncomfortable that is?
I got a
God.
Brazilian. I bleached. I was ready for stranger danger.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna jump right into it. Because speaking of bleached assholes, Washington football team. I don't know how that directly is correlated, but I just think something's going on in that front office, Bob. We got a bunch of bleach assholes in that front office. Did you hear? Did you hear what's going on right now? There is strong consideration. It made it to the next round of what the name is going to be to actually keep the name football team as the name of the Washington football team.
Could they rearrange it and call it the Washington Team of Football so that they could be WTF?
You know, it's funny that you say that because I actually have a sticker that Jamie got me for a Father's Day or something like that that says WTF and it says Washington Team Football underneath. It's pretty clever. Yeah. But dude, this kind of floored me. I literally thought I was being punked by Ashton Kutcher or something like that when I got the notification on my phone.
Taking it back. Easy,
way
boomer.
Back. Yeah.
It's Chance the Rapper now. Get with the times.
Sorry. Girl, who the fuck is Ashton Kutcher? It's like he was in a TV show a long time ago.
Is
with
he the
Chong.
Acorns investing guy?
Right? Oh my God. But yeah, I get the notification. I'm like, okay. You know, and I can't remember who one of our new, personnel in the front office talking about there is, and this is how they, I guess they justified even having this consideration, Bob. There is a faction of people, and this is kind of a paraphrase, but pretty verbatim. There's a faction of fans that have warmed up to the name fucking football team. I don't get that. I'm like, who are these fucking fans? It's not me. Did you see Stephen A. Smith talk about it? He's already pretty fiery or whatever, but he's very upset. He's very, very upset. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, you guys reluctantly didn't change your name for the past 20, 30 years when being pushed to. And then when you do have to drop your name, you don't have a fucking backup. Get your team a name for Christ's sakes. It was pretty funny, but seriously, man, what are your thoughts on this? Is it laughable to you? Are you snickering at me in the side of your face there? Like kind of, chuckling along? Come on, Bob.
I think it's pretty fucking ridiculous that they don't have a name for their team.
Thank you. I feel better now.
And I don't know if it's just the political pressure or what, and they're afraid after, like you said, the last 30 years of being ridiculed by the indigenous folks about their name. And now they're just afraid of picking the wrong one. But we come up with teams as far as like focus groups to do much dumber things. So why can they not go hire a PR and focus group team to go get themselves a decent name, or just be like, whatever, call it like the Washington Murder Hornets? That's fantastic right there.
I'm behind that name 110%. In fact, I would be happy if we were like the Washington Turds. At least we could have a name separate from the generic, what it is, what we are. It's like literally saying, the San Antonio Spurs are changing their name to the San Antonio Dribblers, or actually that's pretty funny. That should be a Florida team, like the old people, the Dribblers. But
the San Antonio Basketball Athletes.
See, and I tried to come up with something generic, and even my generic name for them is better than fucking football team. It's really, to me, it's a slap in the face, and it's disgraceful to honestly think, like if that dude was like, I can't remember, Jason Wright or whatever. I think he's in charge now, but that team is like, well, some fans have said they don't hate it. They haven't stopped being fans yet. Like, what is that, dude? To really think that something as generic as the sport that you play with team after it is going to suffice when they've had, and even if you don't like the Washington Redskins, from what I understand, and you can probably back me up on this, but they had one of the most powerful brands and biggest selling brands in national sports, right behind like the Yankees, the Red Sox. Dallas is up there too, the Patriots. They've always had a really strong brand, and you go from having a very strong brand to just not having a unique brand at all.
Well, so maybe there's a deeper marketing ploy here that we don't know about. Maybe they're trying to theme their stuff as retro. like,
They are.
leather helmets, striped polos, and things like that, and go old school with it. Letterman jackets, and maybe they're trying to brand and market this in a different way that we have yet to see. So maybe there's something better, but I still think they could do that and have a name.
You really can. And you're actually spot on with their train of thought too, because we went back to having just the numbers on our helmet and no logo. That's kind of a tribute to, football of old and everything like that. Naming, just like the team name app, like with the city in it, was like an old school football thing. So they're trying to give it some validity by saying, hey, this is how they used to do it before there was any NFL or really any organized kind of football. So let's just go back to that, because we are shitting the bed on trying to find a name. I'm kind of thinking maybe too, like they had a really good name picked out, and then kind of like what you said, maybe they ran into some hardcore roadblocks with the actual trademarking and branding of it for some reason. And now they're maybe back at the drawing board, but it's interesting. It takes 2 years to do a rebrand like this, apparently. So we're going to go into this season with no fucking name regardless. But I also read April 5th is the deadline for fans to submit possible name changes to the organization before they officially move on to phase 2 of the rebrand. But just so you know, football team is in the hat for fucking phase 2. So kudos to you, Washington front office, never ceasing to surprise me.
I like the murder hornet idea. What a cool mascot.
Yeah, right. Like you could have like a hornet with like a big butcher knife or something,
just running around scaring children. It
sounds
fantastic.
Oh my
well,
God.
Either way, I think that regardless of their name, I think that at least the team itself is heading in the right direction, even if the front office is kind of in shambles, because Ron Rivera has player personnel decision-making ability, and I think that's going to help them out a ton. And I think that, like I said, I think that they're going to go in the right direction. He didn't exactly inherit a gem when he took the Panthers, and he turned that into a solid yearly, winning team. So,
see, now what you just did there is I appreciate and understand what you're saying, and I'm sure there were some people that tuned into the last episode and they're like scratching their fucking football again with these assholes. Are they gonna stop and move on? All right, guys, we swear we won't go into a full-blown football hard-on this episode. In fact, I'm pretty fucking stoked for this episode. I think we dangled a little bit of, teasers and carrots on what we were longing to get back into, Bob. And I think this one's just gonna, it's gonna be a knockout of the park for me. What about you? You pumped?
I am pumped. Ready. I can't wait to talk the draft.
Girl, hey, last moves in free agency and the draft coming up. We got March Madness right now going into the Elite Eight, which honestly, all I know is I'm going to just say this. I hope Gonzaga just wins it all, because, Gonzaga, they're undefeated right now. And this is how little I've paid attention to March Madness. It's like, hey, that sounds good. Go Gonzaga. You know what I mean?
Well, and they've never won.
No.
That's so crazy to have such a good program and have never won. Very, very interesting. But I haven't even been watching it all. And I'm a March Madness, freak. Every year I have my brackets and everything, but not this year. I've been so busy and there's so many things going on that that's one of the things, the extracurricular things that I just let go to the wayside.
I'll tell you what, Bob's, I got a house. Oh my God, I'm so busy. All right, hold on. I'll do it in your voice. Oh my God, I saw it.
4 scores and 7 ago.
Bob's been listening to audio tapes on how to sound like our great 16th president. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can always just go back and listen to the last episode. But no, pretty excited for a couple of reasons for this episode, right? We've got one, a super, super fun looking drink. And I don't think either of us had one yet. And I was just kind of looking at what goes into this bad boy and topping it off with this and that. Not only is it going to be a pretty dank drink in respect to being strong, I think it's going to look kind of cool too. I'm really interested to see what this one looks like. And we got a special guest.
We do have a special guest. We don't have many of those. In fact, we've never had one for our just normal live show, weekly show.
Yeah. This is true.
Last time we had a guest was Evan Webb, and we had
Yeah.
the special show
Yeah.
to talk about, the BLM movement and the climate of last summer. But this will be
Damn it.
different.
It happened again. When you said BLM movement, I thought bowel movement right out of the gate.
It's hard to get away from it.
It really is, especially since I am always concerned about my bowel movements. You know what I mean? Having a good BM is probably one of the most refreshing and relaxing and maybe stress relieving thing you can do in your late 30s, early 40s. You know what I mean?
Oh, I haven't had any issues with that lately. I've had a nice New York strip last night that really cleaned house.
I've got the opposite of bowel movement problems. I need to like, can we like put a stop in this thing, like a plug or something?
I got to eat more cheese. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, my goodness, my friend. Well, I don't know, man. Do you think it's already time?
It could already be time. I mean, it's kind of always time.
This is true. Well, I think that we are. I think we're going to go get ourselves a drink. We're going to go mix up a alien urine sample. So Bob, you haven't peed in like the last few hours, right?
No, I'm good to go.
Okay, good. All right. Because this is an all natural drink. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to go make up a cocktail. And then I think we're going to come back with our special guest. What do you say, buddy?
Let's do it. Sounds great.
Awesome.
Cheers, Scotty.
Oh, cheers all the way. Cheers to your tits.
Cheers for fears.
Oh, that's a great band.
Cheers for beers.
Easy cheers. Go ahead and recline that thing all the way back. Pour yourself a nice little bottle of bubbly. Is he in?
40 minutes, it says we got. 40 minutes.
Oh, he's looking all confused right now, connecting to the audio.
Hello.
Hello.
Gentlemen, how are we?
Welcome.
All right. Got back. We got our special.
Was I on hold there for a minute?
I have to admit people into the meeting. We do that so that no one bombs our meeting with child porn.
Oh, really? Child porn, huh?
That's a thing.
Is that a thing? Is that a lot of people do it?
I don't know if there's a lot, but enough that you should probably, put the admitting button on the controls on your Zoom meetings.
Is that how Scott got into the show?
Yeah.
Is that how Scott squeezed in here?
Yeah, well, it might be a thing. My external hard drive, definitely tells a story. But
I like the saucer behind you there, Scott. That's pretty cool, man. It looks like it's sucking you up. Actually, it looks like you're being beamed up by Scotty.
Yeah, I just found this in the backyard the other night. Thought I'd bring it in the house. Tinker around with it, see if I can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, get it? Beam me up, Scotty. Get it?
Yeah.
Beam me up, Scotty. The whole thing.
Which is another drink we could have had.
Yeah, no, I went ahead and made a cocktail in honor of you guys. It's called a Alien Rim Job. It's got.
Hey, all right.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
It's just Gatorade, actually. But Gatorade with a little bit of vodka and a squirt of grenadine.
Nice work. So, Bob, introduce our special guest here, buddy.
So we are welcoming to the show today, Senor Jeff Howe from LoCal.
That's correct. Los Angeles, over here in Westwood, guys.
All right. Well, hey, we went and got our drink here. We got to show him off real quick. Bob's doesn't look nearly as cool as mine in the green screen, but that's okay. This is an alien urine sample, my friends. And what we got here, just so you guys know, it's packed with liqueurs. We're just going to go ahead and say that. We got some half ounce of everything. It's got some coconut rum, got some melon liqueur, Midori, if you want to use the brand name stuff, peach schnapps, and some
banana liqueur.
99 bananas is what we use just to punch it up a notch there. And then a little bit of sour mix. Bob, did you make your own this time?
I did make my own sour mix, and then topped off with a little bit of club soda.
A little bit of club soda. And then on the very top there is blue curacao. And I'll tell you what, you guys can't really see it here probably on the YouTube channel, but it does look like an alien had a really hard night of partying last night, because the urine is multicolored. You've got like the deep yellow, at the bottom, kind of fading into a nice green from the melon liqueur. And then the top looks very extraterrestrial, but I haven't had a sip yet. Everybody, gentlemen, cocktails up.
Ooh.
Cheers.
It's a great drink.
It's tasty as fuck.
It makes me want to stiffen it up a little bit with maybe some gin.
It's a great cocktail, but if I could just throw like 2 ounces of gin on the top of that, tits right there.
So I floated a cup of gin on the top when it was all done, but I floated it, so it was okay.
Oh my goodness, not bad at all. Very refreshing. Blue curacao, melon liqueur, coconut rum. I mean, nothing is in here that has a bite to it. You know what I mean? Nothing with a powerful bad aftertaste. So quite refreshing.
My wife was asking, is that drink going to be good? And I was like, well, anytime you mix in coconut rum, blue curacao, and peach schnapps, you're headed down a road that you want to be on when it comes to drinks. I mean,
this is true.
So
are you drinking that out of a pint glass, Scott?
Yes, I am. Actually, not a legit proper pint glass. I actually have those too. That's what I usually have my Boddingtons or Guinness in. But yeah, just a standard pint glass.
Nice.
Standard bar glass. Bob over there has got some lovely highball glasses that I got for him. I got to toot my own horn.
True.
Show it off.
Some fantastic highball glass right there.
Isn't that a Tom Collins glass? Isn't that what they call that?
Highball, but the Tom Collins isn't a highball glass. Absolutely. There's a lot of fantastic cocktails too. My personal favorite, Harvey Wallbanger, is also in a highball glass.
You're a Harvey Wallbanger guy, huh?
Oh, I like banging walls. You know what I'm saying?
On the wall, against the wall, from the wall, from the hole in the wall. It's all the same.
The old Harvey Wallbanger.
So yeah, we've partook in quite a selection of highball drinks throughout our tenure here, and maybe a couple off the show. I would venture to guess. So yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. We've got a lot to get to. I mean, everyone that's watching on the YouTube channel is probably wondering once again, what the fuck are these spaceships doing in their background when they're talking about anything but aliens?
Yeah, this is true. And we also had an alien themed drink, I think like 2 shows ago as well. So what have you,
we just all over
aliens,
the place.
Man. But yeah, I think just to kind of jump right back into it, man, we definitely got to address kind of a little bit of a sobering topic initially here. Unless anybody's been living under a rock here recently, I think everybody knows that Colorado, once again, front and center for a mass shooting up in Boulder at a grocery store at King Soopers actually last Monday. I'll tell you what, too, just before we get into it, Colorado doesn't have a lot of good press when it comes to these kind of things, man. I think this is like the third really big one here. I mean, you go back to 99 with Columbine. Obviously, that was a showstopper nationally and kind of what sparked the whole, I don't know, gun violence, and what's especially associated with school kind of issue to put that to the forefront. Then, of course, we had the lovely, mass shooting by the crazy guy with the orange hair. I don't even know his name. I don't believe he deserves to have that, kind of remember
Batman movie.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, that was at the Aurora Theater that I actually used to frequent quite often when I lived in Aurora. But yeah, you had that guy that went in and blasted a bunch of people during the Batman premiere. And what a shitty thing to do during a good movie as well. Right? I mean, come on, man, fucking shit. Jeez. And here we go again. We've got a guy who lived in Boulder since he was 3 years old. Of course, I knew the right was going to have a field day that he's originally a Syrian guy, neither here nor there since he's lived here since he was 3 years old. But again, somebody very unstable, a lot of red flags throughout his entire childhood and his high schooling. And then he goes nuts and regretfully kills 10 people in Boulder last Monday.
Which the last I heard, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was yesterday I was reading that the police still have not found a motive for him.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Now, what I do know, which again, kind of, I guess, makes it kind of puts a little bit of people here at ease, like just in general here, is he did have his first day in court the other day. He's facing 10 first-degree murder charges, attempt to commit murder, and a couple other ones they just threw in there because they could. And I'm like, yeah, good job.
From my understanding, is he had a sex addiction, and he was going from massage therapy or massage parlor to massage parlor, and the left was having a field day saying that it was he was targeting Asians because there were Asian women that he was killing, and then the right obviously was having a field day with he's a Syrian national.
So Jeff, that's the other mass shooting.
Yes, that's
So
the guy.
that one's the one in Atlanta, was the massage parlor. So
Oh, that's
this
it.
one,
Okay.
yeah, I know, 2 mass shootings in 6 days.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So
no,
the good news,
seriously.
it looks like coronavirus numbers are getting better because like people are getting their vaccines, everyone's out and about, the mass shooters are back.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez.
If this is, but seriously, you know,
I'm getting my mass shootings mixed up now. Oh my God.
It's understandable.
That's what happens when there's 2 within 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
fucking ridiculous. But again, and I think we might have touched on this when we were chatting earlier in the week, Bob. But if this is the call back to normal, you're like, hey, businesses are opening back up. Crazy fucking people don't have to worry about the pandemic anymore. So it's time to start killing innocent people. The fuck, man? You know, it's crazy that I hate to say this, but I almost want to say to a certain extent, the pandemic and just having this overarching fear of everything ending kind of kept fucking nutbags like this guy at bay for a little while. Maybe a weird underlying silver lining to the whole fucking thing, but I don't know. I'm not going to look too far into that. But obviously the other thing this is done, it has reignited the gun reform debate. Essentially,
Of course.
right? I mean, and I think in Boulder, this was kind of the ironic thing. In Boulder, they literally had repealed the ban on assault weapons very recently. And then, you know, this happens right afterwards. So I don't know, you know, I think, you know, where I stand here, but let's bring in our guest here. Hal, we need to hear some knowledge here from your point of view. What do you think about all this, man?
Well, let me ask you first, Scott. Where are you guys at in Colorado with social distancing and going out to restaurants and all that? Are you guys 80% capacity? You guys are able to go out to restaurants now and eat inside, or what's the?
We've been able to do that since about I want to say June or July in some capacity. There was a little bit of a pullback for a little bit when we had a spike in cases. I want to say around the holidays. I think November, they started like taking it back down to 25. Long short, we've been at 50% occupancy in restaurants. Now we're, I think, at 75 in a lot of places. Reasonably, we've relaxed restrictions pretty well, and we're probably ahead of the national curve in doing so. We're no Texas or Florida, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty lax here. Why do you ask?
It's strange to me because I was going out last night. As you said, I live in Los Angeles, and everything is still tight knit here. Like we're not allowed to go out. There's a ban on going out to restaurants here. And, you know, you go out, everybody's, if you are going out, you eat on patios out here. You know, we're not allowed to go into restaurants. So, and I talked to people from other states that are like, oh yeah, we're going out to restaurants, sitting down and going out to eat like it was, you know, like 2 years ago. So it's just kind of strange to me how, you know, bottled up we are here in California and how separated we are from the rest of the country. I don't know. It's just very strange to me that we're kind of like our own little country out here and, you know, running on our own set of rules out here. It's kind of a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. But, you know, a little strange. But going back to the gun thing, you know, there's, I just a second ago got confused with the 2 separate mass shootings. I mean, there's so many mass shootings going on in this country that it's gotten out of control. And I don't know if you guys heard about this, but, you know, Hunter Biden, actually, Joe Biden's son, they found one of his guns in a trash. So apparently he had a handgun that was passed off to this female, and she ditched his gun. And he had the Secret Service go in and try to clean it up. They went into the gun store and were asking all kinds of questions about where he purchased the gun from and what time he came in and all this. So apparently he had his dad send the Secret Service in there to go try to clean up the mess. But you know, I think it's kind of funny and ironic that you know, they're trying to push for all this gun control, and this guy, the son of the president, actually has a handgun and is passing it off to somebody else. I don't think it was used in a murder or a robbery or anything like that, but I mean, just the fact that he has a gun is kind of ridiculous. Which kind of goes to my next point. It's like, you know, they're trying to say like they're coming after our guns eventually, because I'm pretty sure eventually the left is going to come for our guns, right? And you know, you got people that are in high power on the left that have security guards that actually carry guns. You know what I mean? It's like you know,
there's definitely an element of hypocrisy to who's carrying guns and who's demonizing guns to a certain extent, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's like you know, I think if we just if we just tightened up on the laws that we have now, it would be fine. I mean, I definitely think that there needs to be some sort of mental health background check when you purchase a gun. I think you need to find out whether or not the person who's carrying the weapon is actually of sound in mind and is not a lunatic, like the guy in Colorado with the weird hair. I just want to make sure that people who are purchasing guns are actually sane and of sound in mind when they're actually buying guns.
You actually bring up a pretty good point there, just to interject. I mean, hey, when you've got like bright orange hair and you want an automatic weapon, that should be like the first red flag. Like, hold on. Let's do a little bit more due diligence on this character here. But right. No, all joking aside there. But I mean, and this seems to me, I think we can all agree on this. We can all agree that there needs to be like a thorough check of the person's mental health, right? And they're just being even keeled in the sense that they don't have a history of doing crazy shit without warning, or that's, way off the deep end or something like that. I don't think anybody's arguing that, which is interesting to me. I don't understand. And I'll just say this, I don't understand how some factions of the far right are saying everybody's coming to get their guns, when I think more rational people, maybe left of center or left of right or whatever, more just want gun reform laws, right? And stronger laws around keeping people away from guns that obviously shouldn't have them. Now, there's probably some gray area in what that means, and everybody can have their own interpretation of, oh, this person shouldn't have a weapon because X, Y, and Z. But I don't know, Bob. I mean, that's just kind of me. I don't see anybody coming for guns right now. I do see the likelihood of certain guns maybe not being available, but still being able to purchase firearms. That's just me, though.
Well, so in a sense, kind of, you're both right? I mean, Jeff, you say that eventually the Democrats will come for your guns, right? And then Scott, you're saying that, there's some people that, kind of deserve to have their guns taken, right? So there's a little bit of both of that even happening right now in the States. There's these red flag laws that are starting to be passed in some states to where it's, if you've been caught with a violent crime or something like that, then they do literally come and take your guns under these red flag laws. I want to say that maybe it might be Florida that passed a red flag law, but there's definitely some states. There's several states that have these kind of red flag laws. So that's interesting too. But that kind of plays along with both. They are coming for some people's guns, and then it's the gray area.
Yeah.
Who then has the authority to tell? Well, I need this person to not have any guns. So let's just say that we need to go and take them. And that's a slippery slope right there. So you guys, me, right? Jeff, you might not if you haven't listened to all the episodes, but I'm very much pro gun. I'm from Texas. I'm a gun owner. I believe that we should be able to buy guns. I was actually talking to my wife about this not too long ago about gun reform laws, right? So I think the burden should always be on the gun owner, right? If I want to go buy an AK-47, damn it, I should be able to go buy it. However, it should be much more rigor to the ability to be permitted and evaluated to be able to have something that equals that much mass destruction, right? Like if I want to buy a tank, I should be able to go fucking buy a tank. But then the rigor to get it is insane, and no one can actually ever pass it and get it.
Right.
Just a little bit more red tape for the tank, but you can still get on a fast track there if you want to.
But so like if you want a handgun, we're going to look at your history, your violent history. We're going to look at your criminal history. We're going to look at, the type of person you are, maybe do an interview or two, get you a handgun, whatever, right? If you want a hunting rifle, a little bit more rigor, maybe we're going to make you take a gun safety class, a hunter safety class. If you want a sniper rifle or something that shoots long range, okay, but you do have to pay the $3,000 and get your psych eval done every couple of years, and then you have to go at your expense, and then you have to go have special training about downward sniping lanes and line of sight and putting people in danger that you might be targeting whatever from a distance, or your target that there might be someone within a half mile of you. And so there's all these trainings that should go at the gun owner's expense. So that way, if I want a fucking $3,000 gun, but then I'm willing to succumb to these regulations and put the money in, because damn it, I'm going to do whatever it takes to have it, then that's where I believe, then absolutely. If you're safe and you're of sound mind and you have the means to do it and you have the mentality and the mental capacity to do it and the thoughtfulness to have it, then absolutely you should be able to have these things. And I think it's very like, I think there's so much gray area that the regulating of guns has to be so thoughtful and nuanced that it's going to take several years to work out. But this whole, well, we should just ban assault rifles outright. Well, I don't think we should necessarily ban assault rifles, even though that's how we all grew up. You couldn't buy one until 2005, right? That was just illegal. But still, I think that you can get it if you're willing to do all this other work and put in the money and get all your permits and all that. Then again, that's kind of where I stand on that. And I think that clears a lot of the weeds. It doesn't get rid of the black market, but that's a different solution. I'm talking about legally purchased guns.
I think the concern is, especially from conservatives, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff, but it's what happens after you can get a gun. What comes after that? Again, if this and this, and again, who makes the decision that says, this categorization, this list of things that I find necessary to be a gun owner, that can, like you said, can be a very slippery slope. And we'll probably all agree on this, though. Banning guns and making guns illegal is not going to solve the problem. I'm just going to come out and say that as a stiff truth right there in itself. I mean, what happened in Boulder, I was thinking about it, and I go to a King Soopers, which is the type of grocery store that this happened in Boulder. I go there all the time. There was a little bit more fucking pep in my step at the grocery store this weekend. And granted, it was kind of irrational, you know what I mean? But in the back of my head, subconsciously, I was like, you know what? This is the same place, same state. I need to get my shit and get the fuck out of here because I'm a sitting duck in this psycho kind of paranoid, subconscious that I'm in right now. So in my mind, if everybody that wanted to was packing heat in that grocery store, maybe, there's a couple people that didn't lose their lives. Maybe there's a couple people that did lose their lives in addition because that person was reckless and didn't know how to carry or hold a gun. I don't know, but I think taking them away from everybody, I think we're all on the same page. It's not going to do anything because the people that want to have guns and they okay having them illegally are going to have them and then, stand up.
You're absolutely right. And that's what it's going to boil down to if you think about it. If we take guns away from everybody, if their government's going to step in and say, we're going to take your guns, it's illegal to have guns. First of all, it's way too late to have that. I mean, we're way beyond that point because if we went in and tried to regulate that, there's no way that everyone's going to give up their guns. Okay, so number two, and if they do, the law-abiding citizens, the ones who actually care about the law, are going to give their guns in, and the ones who don't are going to keep the guns. So then the bad guys are going to have the guns, the good guys are not. So if somebody comes and attacks you, you're not going to have your gun. So that's what it's going to come down to. But going back to what you were talking about, Rob, is what are the limitations on the background checks? Like, what are they looking for? So it's ironic that we're bringing this up because I was, as you guys know, I was arrested a while back. I did 8 months here in LA County Jail.
He's got a couple of teardrop tattoos now. Nothing big deal. No big deal. No big deal.
They're actually lightning bolts, but
yes, yes,
yes. Guys, don't be so 80s, okay?
Dating myself again. Dating myself.
That's neither here nor there. But no. So. And funny enough, I was arrested for having fully automatic weapons. I was arrested for fully automatic weapons and narcotics. So if you have here in Los Angeles or in California, if you get caught with any kind of illegal gun, any kind of fully automatic weapon with narcotics or a gun that's not registered to your name, because I was a gun owner, I had a registered pistol in my name. So, and I took the test and everything. I was legally able to carry a weapon. But the weapons that I had were illegal. I had fully automatic guns. But if you have guns and drugs together, it's an automatic felony. So I went and I did jail. I did criminal threats after that. So then I did time for criminal threats, fully automatic weapons, and narcotics. But now that I'm out of jail, should I be able to carry a gun is the question. I'm a convicted felon now. So that's going to be one of the things they look at when, you do a background check. If I go try to purchase a gun, they're going to look, this guy here had a history
automatically off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had fully automatic weapons, he had narcotics, and he had criminal threats, which obviously looks bad. And they're going to be like, yeah, we're not going to sell this guy a weapon, And not only that, but I'm a convicted felon. So on top of that, so it's kind of like, where are the limitations here? I mean, are we going to allow felons to carry weapons? Is that going to be one of the, the limitations that we have here? But at the end of the day, I think we don't want to infringe on our rights to carry weapons. I mean, that's part of our rights as a civilian here in the United States is to carry.
Yeah, they put that pretty early on in the Bill of Rights, I think, for a reason, with it being number 2 on the list. Just
Now, I
saying.
will point out, when they put that on there, they were talking about muskets.
Well, now, granted, hey, you know damn well that Washington and his boys would have been packing AR-15s if they would have had them. It's just what was available at the time.
Perhaps, but I'm just pointing out that when the intention of that law may not be quite the same as far as devastation capability of the weapon itself as they intended when they wrote it, as is how guns have evolved and where we're at now.
Yeah,
sure.
It's funny you bring that up, Bob. There was a guy that I shared a cell with in Los Angeles, LA County. He was a Chinese guy. He was there because he shot a coyote with a musket. he had a musket gun. He shot a coyote on his property, and they arrested him for it.
Sounds legit to me.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
That's what I told him. I was like, "That's gangster." I was like, "You shot a coyote with a musket?" And
he's like, "Sit there, Wiley. I'm gonna show you."
I won't miss this time, you fucker.
but here's the thing with that is that it's not considered a gun. It's a one shooter. Since it's a one shot, a single shot, it's not really considered an illegal gun. So he was able to purchase that on eBay.
That's like a classic artifact now. You know what I mean?
Like an antique. It's like an antique. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. But on the same hand, it was like he was fighting it in court because he shouldn't have been in jail because he shot it with a gun that he purchased on eBay. You know what I mean?
My opinion on that, though, is regardless of what the power and the devastation effect of your weapon, I think it still rings true with the Second Amendment that you should be able to arm yourself to protect yourself. You know,
I agree.
Case closed. So how you do that? If you do that with scare tactics, because you pull up again like a tank, hey, that's going to scare people away off your lawn so they won't hurt you and yours. Or if you're using like a little pea shooter, whatever, if you got a crossbow that you're, whatever you like, man. So, but yeah. I don't know, man. It is interesting because I don't know if you saw it, but I was a little disappointed with Biden's, like what he said publicly about the shooting, the mass shooting up in Boulder. Instead of like giving condolences or that our thoughts are out with the families or, the officer that was like first on the scene that was killed, father of 7, instead of talking about and highlighting those people, or even that is, not really talking about the victims at all. The first thing he says is that, we need to, go talk about gun reform. I'm like, God, Jesus Christ. It's like the first thing that you say is talking points from your party, what those people want to hear you say right now. And he said that before he said anything addressing the humanity of the issue. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, whatever. But that's just what's going to happen. The other side would have avoided altogether and said, the officers and everybody else.
Yeah, but it's like a slap in the face to the families. You know what I mean?
To a certain extent. I mean, he didn't know them personally, but again, just that he went right to it without saying anything. And again, all those other things you say, hey, and Cole, they're somewhat empty rhetoric to a certain extent, but they're expected. They're expected from somebody to show like just humility and empathy and whatnot. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, well, here we go again. Let's turn the knob on this, this debate, because it's cooled down when we had to worry about the pandemic. So let's get right back to business here. But here we are. So
yeah, I mean, there's two things that always come up anytime there's a mass shooting incident, right? And it's you'll hear from the left right away, gun control, right? And then you'll hear from the right, well, you can't take away our guns because then the bad guys will be the only ones with the gun, right? So there's both of those are correct. I mean, so let's say, for instance,
I love this guy. He's riding the fence, isn't he?
Well, as a gun owner, right? You're packing your 9, right? And you're rolling to the grocery store. Well, you're not actually going to take your gun into the grocery store as a responsible gun owner, even if you have concealed carry, because it's illegal in most states to carry a gun into a place that sells packaged liquor. So you're going to leave it in the car. So that's going to put you in the same fucking situation because you're following the law, being a registered gun owner and being lawful. And you're still going to be in there when the mass shooter opens up, who brought his gun illegally and starts opening up, and you're not going to be able to defend yourself. Only those people that would then carry the gun and have it on them illegally would be able to fight back. I work for the government. I have certain things I can and can't do. And one of those is get caught breaking the law. So I could not then take a gun in, because if I then fought back in a store like that and shot a bad guy that had a gun, I would go to jail and I would lose my job.
Well, it is interesting, because I was just going to say, the only type of person, which again is kind of that 1 in a million needle in a haystack. Thank God that person was there. But the only one that could not have any kind of blowback from being able to save the day in these kind of instances is not even an off-duty cop, just a cop that's stopping by the grocery store because he needed to get something, some Pepto-Bismol or some shit like that. And he was still on duty. You know what I mean?
Because security guard that's at
right.
the
But
store,
if you were off duty, you're probably running into the same thing. What are you doing with your firearm on you in the grocery store, officer? You're not working today. So it's interesting because again, that's the only scenario where you get no blowback, and it's a needle in a haystack. So
again,
I guess
with the nuance of gun control. It's very, very complicated.
It drips with it, you know.
It drips with tantalizing nuance.
Damn, I was like,
sounds wrong in so many ways, right there.
That nuance really looks like some alien urine. You know what I mean?
That ain't urine, buddy.
It seeps.
Well, I'll tell you what. Just speaking of that, though, if you guys don't mind, speaking of Biden and public speaking here. If anybody got to see it, I know Jeff, you did. I got the play-by-play and all the talking points from both the partisans. Bob, yourself, you got in there. He got out there, Mr. Joe Biden, Mr. President Joe Biden got out there and addressed the press officially, right? The first presser.
Since he open question presser.
Yeah, it only took 65 days. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously nobody's counting, Jeff, but but right. No, here's the thing. I think this is a big thing. If I could just high level it from my end here, I think it's the longest, right, that a president has not addressed the public after being sworn in, right? You could say, oh, they just threw us a bone. Did you see that, Bob? No. We got unlimited minutes.
Oh, I didn't see that, but that sounds fantastic.
Sorry.
Thank you, Zoom, for today's.
No, it's because I'm here. They know I'm here. Though.
Yeah, Jeff's here. Get out of the way, Zoom compliance stuff. But no, so the longest time that it's taken a president to come out and actually answer questions by the press, that definitely has been something that has been a concern to a lot of people. There's suspicions and rumors. Oh, he can't answer any questions. He's not fit for office. He's just a talking piece for them, blah, 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 what have you. Or he can't say any answers about certain things that people are going to want to hear. Let's just hold it back. I want you guys to chime in here first. Jeff, what was your initial impression of this press conference and what'd you think?
Well, let me say this, gentlemen. If you are not concerned about the bias of the press and the future of this country after watching that press conference, then there's something wrong with you, because this is just ridiculous. This guy, after 65 days, finally has a press corps meeting and is able to start asking questions finally. And the questions that he asks and gets answered are scripted. Like, look, there's obviously some sort of backdoor channel going on with the media and the government here, because everything that he had was already written out for him. He already knew what order that he was going to ask the questions in, and they already knew what questions were going to be asked. And he read off a script. He's literally reading off a script on his answers on every single answer that he had.
I will chime in there and say that is something that is not like an allegation. He was reading answers off of something prepared. Whether he prepared it or somebody else for him, obviously is
sure. Yeah,
but I did hear that for sure.
Yeah, this is not some sort of like conspiracy theory here. I mean, you can literally see him reading off of his little cards there, or reading off of the script there when they're asking him questions. Now, one reporter from ABC was ballsy enough to ask him about the immigration, the crisis down at the border, which he already knew was going to be asked, and he still was struggling with the answer, because she was giving him like, why aren't you giving the press eligibility to go and see some of the facilities? And he starts getting he starts getting choked up and not being able to answer the question properly.
Now, I gotta just play devil's advocate here real quick. Do you think some of that is because the man has been suffering with a stutter for his entire life. Do you think some of that is the stutter, or do you think he's stumbling on it a lot?
I think it maybe a little bit of both, but I think more so stumbling on the question, because
Do you think the stutter gets worse when he gets nervous? How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Kamala Harris laughs when she gets nervous. You ever notice that?
It's kind of an evil laugh. I'm going to tell you what, she is not a very warm person. I don't know. She did get a lot of brownie points during the Democratic primaries, and I think I kind of get it now. She's not very likable to a certain extent, but
yeah, because that's right when she called Joe Biden a racist. You know what I mean? She's called him a blatant racist, and then a couple months later, hey, you want to run from VP? Yeah, no problem. Let's go. You're my buddy now. And then I think somebody asked her like, hey, do you remember when you called Joe Biden a racist? She goes, she starts laughing. Oh yeah, it was just a debate. What are you talking about?
Those are games. Those were games.
That lady, I can't even believe that I've lived long enough to see what's going on right now. And it's funny that we're talking about this now about the press, because what's going on right now with the national press is something that I never thought that I would see in my lifetime. I always knew that they were biased, but I never knew it was this bad. Like this, it's out of control. It's way out of control at this point, because now they're literally working with the White House. He didn't even answer a question from Fox News. Peter Doocy was over there trying to ask him a question, and they didn't have him on the agenda that day. So they didn't answer any question from Fox, because honestly, I think that he would have been taken back by the question. He wouldn't have been able to answer it, because there's so many issues going on right now that people don't know about because it's not brought up in the media. And Fox News is really the only news outlet that's bringing up some of these issues.
Jeff, let me ask you this: is there anything, and then we'll pivot to Bob here. I know he's itching for some feedback. I can see it on his face. He wants to get it going. But was there anything, objectively, if you can, sir, is there anything that you think went well with the press conference, even if it was his fucking tie he was wearing? What say you?
Anything that went well. I'm trying to think.
I knew that would stump you. Only the hardball questions for me, buddy.
Yeah, I like the hard questions. That's good. No, I don't think really anything went well. I try to compare it to Donald Trump, and when Trump was in office, and as soon as he gets out there, he's taking questions from Jim Acosta from CNN, and immediately taking fireball questions, and he had no problem. He was just going straight off the hip. He would say this and this. He would address the question. Okay, stop. Then you take a question over here, take a question from over here, and had no problem answering questions from anybody. And that just wasn't the case that day. It was kind of a sad day for this country, and a sad day for the media. Man, it just kind of gave us proof that the media in this country is dead.
Good point, Bob. You.
So, as we know from a previous show, there's a real problem with the media in this country in general.
It's a real problem with journalism, if we could say that.
Right.
You know what I mean? In general.
Journalism and how the money is made and how it no longer has any government protection has made it very, very partisan and catering and pandering to their captive audiences. And Fox and CNN are both hyper guilty of it. And it's ruining it because we don't have enough people that'll watch like a BBC, right? Or an Al Jazeera or something that has no skin in the game, right? We just don't in this country anymore. I did watch the presser. I would say that it was a bad look to not have anyone from a conservative outlet to answer their questions. The answers he got, I wouldn't say that the questions were layups. I would say that the answers were layups, right? He was very presidential in how he just did not answer. And that's not new. No president ever really answers the question. It's a little bit disappointing, specifically when the border question gets asked, how he just doesn't say, the truth about we're looking into it.
Yeah,
right?
We're not there yet, but
we're still going under Trump's executive order of Title 42. And we're still implementing that. We don't know how to handle the perception that immigrants think that now that I'm in office, people can just come across the border because they can. Right. Sure. And so there's no the task force is looking into the best way to handle this. There's none of that. It's just like, well, we're going to take care of it. Well, when? Well, we're going to take care. When can we get in? Well, as soon as I let you guys. I mean, that's basically what he said, right? So
Bob, if we can, one second, there was no. You're right that the questions wasn't necessarily the questions; it was the answers. However, there were questions that weren't asked. They didn't ask one question about COVID. or one question about why schools aren't back. You know what I mean? There was a lot of things that weren't addressed that needed to be addressed and that just weren't asked. You know what I mean? I think that was the major problem, is that they didn't ask any of these questions that needed to be answered, you know?
Well, and then maybe they'll learn from this and have a better presser next time. But from my take, and I was watching really carefully about Biden, because I had already talked to Scott before this, who had told me like some of the commentary he had heard about the presser. And it's just like, well, his answers were scripted. And so I was watching really carefully, and it's not that his answers were scripted, except for the China question. He had a lot of shit written down that he read verbatim about China.
Oh, foreign policy in general.
Right.
Was, I think the heaviest question, set of questions that it was looked down for him. Like, here, let me answer that real quick.
Right. So the rest of most of the rest of the questions he didn't have to read, because he didn't answer them. He just didn't answer them.
Touche.
He went very presidential, and he just didn't answer them. And then
He gets a hard
to your
question.
point, Jeff, about Trump, like he answered Acosta's questions, sort of. I mean, he responded to them. He wouldn't really answer them if he didn't feel like answering them. He would just say, well, you know, that's bad reporting, that's fake news, and then move on, right? So he still didn't answer them.
The point is, he took the questions. You know
Well,
what I mean? Like that's
right.
I mean, he was allowed to answer questions from every news source that's out there. You know, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and then Biden here. And it's funny that he said there's no conservative outlet that was able to ask any questions. There's really no conservative outlets. I mean, there's Fox, maybe, you know what I mean? And that's about it. Like, I mean, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, they're all liberal, man. They're all liberal.
There's a lot of conservative outlets, right? But as far as television, there's only Fox, One, and Newsmax, right? That's the big three. Other than that, you're looking to more like the New York Post, the Washington Examiner, some of the papers that are.
Jesus Christ, the Examiner might as well have something about Bat Boy or something on the cover.
So again, though, to your point, and Trump did take questions, and like most presidents, he got, if he chose not to answer them or brush them away, at least the question was asked, and everyone got to see him not answer it. Right. And he didn't get that opportunity. Yeah. And Fox didn't get the opportunity to ask them a question and pin it on him that he's not going to answer it. Right. See, that's the opportunity that they didn't get. And that's why it's such a bad look.
Let me ask you this. What do you think the number one problem facing the country is right now? And do you think that question was asked during the press corps that day?
The number one problem in the country right now is how we're handling COVID.
Absolutely. 100%.
And was that asked? And then that wasn't even addressed.
Very briefly, he talked about vaccine rollout, and very briefly, he talked about schools.
Yeah. Well, he come out with that we're now bumping up to 200 million.
He came out with his first little spiel about kind of what's going on. But it wasn't a question. Like no one asked him a direct question to get a response about COVID at all. There wasn't a COVID question asked.
Right. And if you listen to the way some of these questions are asked, you know, they're completely different than what they were when Trump was in office. Like, first of all, Mr. President, you are a man of your word, and you are a great person, by the way. Just letting you know. And then
there's a little dick
question after that. It's
like
what? You know what I mean? If that was Trump, they'd be like, first of all, sir, you are a scumbag, and then ask the question. You know what I mean? It's a completely different format, and the way the tone of the question goes now with this administration than it was with the previous administration. And I think it's very obvious and disturbing.
I'll chime in there and say, yeah, there is definitely a lopsided advantage for a Democrat to be in the White House right now. 20, 30 years ago, I don't really remember it being like this, but we talked about this before, Bob. I don't really think the news outlets were as polarizing as they are today either. You know what I mean? We talked about, do you remember how, I think we talked, was it last week when we talked about how like back in the day or the week before when something was on CNN, that was like big, important world news, man. Like that was the shit. If it was on CNN and made CNN, that was it. There was no partisan thinking about CNN back in like the early 90s. Like Bob, you had said, no, they covered Desert Storm. You know,
when they were covering Desert Storm, it wasn't, how do we present this to make it was shine a better light in partisan politics.
Yeah. And it's an unfortunate. So right now that's the way the scales are tipped. So yeah, I'm not going to deny that either. And I think there was And let me just point out something too. Trump is easy to go after. He's easy to go after. If I was a reporter, I would have fun covering Trump, way more fun covering Trump than Biden. You know what I mean? Because especially if I was his adversary, like with reporting, I knew that if I asked a tough question, I could probably get this guy to say something off color, something that could be construed as racist.
His buttons are definitely easier to press.
Easy to push, bro. And you know, you're pushing them for everybody's benefit because everybody's like rooting for you to get that out of him, since the majority of the news behind you is also leaning that way too. So I'll definitely say it's a whole different ball game now with the press, with the president.
Not just that, it's like the fact that he does that generates ratings. That's what they're after. They're after ratings. You know what I mean? The whole, Trump says this and does the whole Howard Stern effect thing is for ratings. It's all for ratings. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're asking these questions, I mean, it does show you that they're in bed with the Democratic, with the DNC, but it also shows that they're only concerned about ratings. They're not concerned about the well-being of the country or actually getting to the truth.
And that's the heart of it, Jeff. That's the core of why journalism is dying, is because it's all about ratings and it's all about
money.
And nothing's about actual reporting. I mean, in fact, you can get shunned and banned if you do some factual reporting from your own agency.
I'll say this too, and I think it's a takeaway from our episode about journalism, not to plug past episodes, but I like to.
But it was a really good one, and not enough people watched it.
Seriously, it's probably me and Bob's favorite topic that we did. But no, one of the things that I thought was a huge takeaway from that whole learning experience, Bob, is people don't remember that journalism and being a journalist is not supposed to make you rich. You know what I mean? That's the mindset that all these guys need to get out of, and the paradigm shift back to more of being a fucking public servant to a certain extent, right? Because if you got people that are going in the field for the love and the passion of getting the real story out for all of the people, so they can in turn, as a, as a society based on people ruling or whatever, can make the best decision moving forward for their country. That's not really the case for a lot of journalism. Do you think Anderson Cooper or Tucker Carlson or Hannity or Rachel Maddow, do you think that they didn't have aspirations of being rich and famous when they got into this fucking game? Goddamn well they did. You can see it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that needs to change the most. I think that's like the root problem of everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Like, imagine a world where if your news channel had a show or couldn't have a program on there that was classified as an entertainment show.
Yeah.
Like the ones exactly that you mentioned, they're not news. If you go and you look at the rating systems, they classify them as entertainment shows, so they're not obliged to full on do factual reporting if they don't want to. It could be an opinion-based show, and that's that. But a lot of the country doesn't understand that because it's on a news channel. They think it's real news.
And they're good at it. And they're good at it. I'll give them credit to that. They got a guy on there with a suit and tie that talks about, how fair he is and how he's looking at both sides objectively when he's not. He's rolling into the whole topic already biased because he's already talking about, how Trump is a scumbag or how the right does this right off the bat, because they'll even ask questions like, given the fact that Trump's a scumbag, how do you think that,
that's a slight exaggeration, which is why it created the hysterical laughter. But you're right, though. It's like, hey, so President Trump has already had poor quality doing this, and this, and this. What would you do differently?
Exactly.
But like you already know, you're like, oh, well, that's a fair question.
Exactly. It makes it look like, okay, well, this guy really knows what he's talking about. You're like, what?
And they do it the other way around too. Let's face it. Like I enjoy, as Bob knows, as you probably know, I do have a little bit of a guilty pleasure with my boy Tucker Carlson. I think he does good reporting. I think he's very passionate. He's funny. He's kind of an asshole, but
a huge asshole.
There's a lot of things I don't agree with him on, and I'm like right out of the gate, I'm like, oh, okay, dude, just come out and say it already. But so they all do it. But point is these guys are in it for the fame, the money, and the ratings, right? So they're going to do whatever to get that, not give you the straight dope and the truth and the very objective, play by play of what happened in a scenario. Usually what sucks with these opinion pieces, you guys, it too. Not only do they just blovocate on their thing with their monologue, about what they think about with everything, everything that's going on, is they'll bring on other people to just ask their opinion about what they thought, knowing that they're their response is going to be in their favor about something else somebody did. And that's the extent of the news these days. But Bob, like you were saying, people don't know any different. This is how the news has been now for 20 years.
Well, and it's really tough to even find national news anymore. Like, it's just really hard to even like, where off the top of your head, give me 3 seconds. Where can you find national news at the end of the day with a desk and an anchor and actual news?
You know what? Honestly, I usually watch headline news on the weekends with that nice bubbly girl or whatever. You know, I don't know. It's just something that they're talking about puppies and shit like that. You know, who knows? But yeah, I don't have an answer.
Right. I mean, is it like NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt? Even that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all opinion based. I mean, there's no like, back in the day, Dan Rather used to just read the news, right? He would just read it. There'd be a thing that popped up like Weekend Update on SNL, and he would just like tell the story about what happened and then kind of move on. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's all about, let me give you my opinion and present this story to you. And the only place that like I've really seen news like that is sometimes on Cheddar News. They actually have news, and like BBC and Al Jazeera. Like I can't get it anywhere else, and it's really weird.
It's leaked into not just news, into pop culture, into you know, like the Grammys and the Oscars now. They don't even give acceptance awards. They got to throw something political in now every time. And it's like, I was watching the NAACP awards last night, and the guy come out and he starts talking about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Now we finally got somebody in office that's great. I'm like, I'm not here to watch that.
Yeah, what are you talking about, dude? Like, you're talking about fucking basketball right now. Let's get back to kids playing basketball.
To like win my bet on when Kanye fucks up.
I mean,
guys, I hate to do this, but I gotta take a quick piss. So I'm gonna do that and grab myself another beer. All right.
Okay, grab me one.
You want one too?
Yeah, grab me one while you're up.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So I was watching the NAACP awards last night. It's sad, man. It's just sad the way, you know, like all the award shows now, everyone that comes up on stage, they gotta throw in something about, you know, how Trump's a scumbag, or how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is the new best things in sliced bread. And it's like, you know, I'm not here to watch that. I don't like award shows to begin with, but like if I do watch, it's, you know, to see what my favorite movie was or whatever it may be. But like, I don't want to have to hear about political bullshit every single time, man. Not only that, like sports, it's leaked into every single pop culture, every single thing besides news. It's going on like outside of the news. It's everywhere, man. It's on academia, it's in Hollywood, it's in sports, it's everywhere, and it's just tiring, man.
And the biggest thing about politics that I think about the problem with that is you're just giving someone a taste that normally wouldn't follow it. So it takes a lot to understand what's going on in the United States Senate and Congress. You have to know what the fuck a whip is. You have to know, what's going on voting wise. You have to know how civics work. You have to know everything about that. And you have to keep track of all these little news stories leading up to this bill being created or introduced or whatever. And if you don't know that and you just hear the end product presented to you in some left or right biased way, then you're going to just naturally jump on that without any reference about to that point forward. And the problem with it being leaked into entertainment and sports and all that, awareness is great, but if you don't put in the work, then you're making your argument, or you're getting fed that information and you're intaking that information on a level of emotion and bias. You have to like at least have some sort of understanding of what's been going on before you get that final information, so that you don't form that final opinion out of ignorance. And that's so tough because people don't want to put in the work. People don't want to pay attention, and people don't want to look at things because how the sausage gets made, Jeff, is not sexy.
That's true.
Hey, hold on, wait. I wasn't here for a minute because I had to grab a beer, but speak for yourself. How the sausage is made is very sexy.
No, but it's I mean, you're right, Bob, but like look, sports, like for example, like when they started wearing Black Lives Matters on the back of their t-shirt or on the back of their jersey, it's like they're already committing to one side. They're already committing to like, this is okay. It is like Black Lives Matter is not a domestic terrorist organization, or that it's not a racist organization. They're already committing to one side of the aisle, basically, by saying, okay, we're going to allow these people to put Black Lives Matter on the back of their jersey. and they're not going to allow them to have any kind of other opinion. And if they are, they're going to kick them out of the league or ban them from that channel or whatever it may be. And I just think that's wrong. You know what I mean? I think that, you know, if we're going to allow people to speak, we need to allow both sides of the aisle to speak, or both sides of the opinion of the argument to speak. Because right now it seems that we're only leaning towards one side in this whole country, basically, when it comes to sports, academia, Hollywood, news organizations. Like everything seems to be 95% left and a little tiny bit on the right.
Well, you're 100% right. The NBA and the NFL made, I would assume, a financial business decision to hop on the left of the BLM movement early on, because we all know it wasn't from some moral standpoint. We know they had a focus group run the numbers, and they found out that they'd probably make a little bit more if they do it this way. And so they went that way, right?
Yeah, they're like, hey, where can we suffer more loss from a bunch of conservatives like banning football, or like the rest of the world?
Yeah, that's why it makes that's where it makes no sense to me at all. Like if their one sole job is to make money and to get more viewers, I don't understand how wiping off half of your viewers by going with
but it's slightly less than half. That's why.
Yeah,
it's very
exactly right.
It's a very technical and systematic approach to this, man. It's not, you know, the numbers and profit and money do not really take any sides. They just go where they're going to win.
We brought this up on the show when we were talking about brands getting rid of Aunt Jemima and all this other stuff, right? We talked about how none of this is done from some moral introspection. This is all done because the profitability of making the other decision is what they went with, because it had the potential of making them more money. We all knew that there was a gap analysis done about the differences in the way that they would go, and they went with a more profitable way because that's the way that it's done. But to confuse people that wouldn't see that money side and actually think, well, Nike's Aaron Colin Kaepernick because they're going to make they're standing up for rights or whatever. No. They're doing that because they made a tactical decision because they believed that would make them more money in the next fiscal year because they have stockholders to report to.
But my point is that I don't think any of those decisions were profitable at all for anyone. I think all of them were financially bad for all of them. I think they lost money on every single one of those decisions.
Well, and they could have. But the point is that they made them thinking that they're making the profit.
They took what they thought was the smart move financially. Yeah, if it backfired, whatever. But you'll notice that too with a lot of customer-facing companies and corporations over the past year, right? I think it's been very recently, but almost everybody kind of like gaze up their company during Pride Month now. Like all of a sudden, like companies that are customer facing will have rainbow, like, you know, backgrounds as their logo and all this kind of stuff. Again, it's the same kind of thing though, man. It's like, again, are all these people really, really concerned, these top dogs for these corporations, concerned about, you know, the advancement of people that are
marginalized?
Gay? No, I was just going to say, what's the other thing I could say besides gay?
LGBT.
Non-binary?
Yeah, but LGBTQT, everybody, alternative lifestyle from the original, but they want to empower everybody that has an alternative kind of sexual preference. No, that's not their case. Their case is like, hey, this is what's popular right now. This is what's in with the in crowd. Is it rooted in good nature? Yeah, probably, but I'm not concerned about that. We need to be a part of this movement so we look good to the public. I mean, that's why people do it. It is definitely financially sound, but it's more image, right? It's PR based. So you can't be the company that doesn't do it, because then you'll be like Goya Foods right now, friends with Trump. The CEO of Regeneron Pharmaceuticals took a lot of shit too for giving Trump the cocktail and being friends with him, like the little antibody cocktail. You can't, as you know, you can't do that right now without being canceled to a certain extent.
Cancel culture.
And there's very few companies that make moral decisions, and it's because that's how the company model is built. Except
the Stiff Truth LLC.
That's right. We don't make money, so we can't lose money.
Yeah, that's our fucking formula for success.
That's right. We'll tell it how it is, because we don't make any money.
It's like, you want to bribe us? Absolutely. We're going the other way now.
So, I think that we've probably spent enough time on that. I think we should get into some aliens.
Yeah.
Are you saying you want to
Yeah.
give people a little bit more of an understanding of what the fuck's up with the backgrounds that we have besides, okay, flying saucers and what looks like the old school Top Gun video from Nintendo? Like, what are we doing here? Let's get in there. Absolutely.
It's Ace Combat 14 behind me. We're going to chase after UFOs.
No, I think both me and Bob were pretty not subtle about us wanting to get back into talking about extraterrestrial alien type things, but for good reason. Bob, I'm going to let you tee this one up here, just with setting the scene here, because there's actually a point to why we're talking about this. It is a PSA to a certain extent.
So a couple of things, right, is amidst the craziness of 2020 and coronavirus and murder hornets and whatever else came across the news as like the worst year ever.
Oh, new Deftones album though. That was a good one. That was a good one.
There you go. And so sprinkled in all of this, the government actually released these videos that you can actually see a couple of them behind me of actual, I think they were Navy pilots. That captured UFOs, like locked onto UFOs and flew with them and captured them. And you can even see the one on the left there. It looks like a classic fucking Mars Attacks UFO. Right. So, and the one on the right, that thing was going so fast that the dude almost like went ape shit when he locked onto it, like 12-year-olds doing bottle flips. Right. So they released these 3 individual UFO incidents and said, by the way, UFOs are real. Here's some footage. And I don't know if it was part of FOIA or if it was just Trump saying, let them have it or what it was, but it got swept under the rug because the news cycle was swept up in partisan politics, coronavirus, murder hornets, what have you. And no one really paid attention to it. And Scott and I thought that was a tremendous disservice to Americans, humanity, you name it. And we wanted to circle back.
Tucker Carlson put it on his show. I saw Tucker Carlson had a little thing on it.
He has a snippet. But to that extent, right? You're absolutely right. It's so crazy to me that prior to the pandemic, and let's just face it, dude, it took everybody's focus off of things. I became an alcoholic or something weird like that because of the pandemic.
Yeah, like the pandemic made me an alcoholic in 2013.
It's so weird how it's a crazy fucking virus, man. I can see why they shut down the world. It retroactively affected me 10 years earlier in my life and made me a drunk. But no, in all seriousness, why everybody's focus cannot be on this, it's interesting to me because you go pre-pandemic, dude, we've been balls deep, meaning American society or world society has been so balls deep curious about, the Roswell incident, right? Or just proving that aliens are here. What does the government know? And every time there's a new president, right, he gets told all the top like secret shit from Area 51 and all this stuff. And, they've interviewed Obama and Clinton about it and Bush and everything too. It's like, hey, so like, tell us the deal. It's like, I can't really tell you anything. So we're fascinated with that. And literally what could be, like, I think Jeff said the other day when we were talking, the biggest like breaking story of the planet would be like, we're not alone. Here's the fucking proof, right? They literally just throw that out there and nobody bats an eye. They're like, Corona, fucking, I gotta wear 3 fucking masks. Where's the fucking toilet paper? They ain't got time for this shit.
It was gone within a week from the news cycle.
It was out and on its way. There was only like people that were curious and a bunch of nerds living in their mom's basement that really kind of stuck with it for a while, which is very concerning to me.
And I don't think it's going to be a thing until we're actually invaded by Martians and Martians come down and start people with their laser beams or whatever.
Like we just won't prepare for it. But Bob, you brought up a really good thing too in relation to talking about this again. Trump recently, before his exodus from the presidency, signed an executive order that's supposed to give us more intel on this. Is that right?
Right. As part of the COVID package number 2 in December, there's actually an executive, well, it's not even an executive order. It's just part of the legislation.
It's law.
Within 6 months that the government releases, and I'm paraphrasing here, but all of the known data they have on the UFO research and projects that they have done, which stands to reason to be a shit ton of data and videos and testimony and all this other shit, because we've had UFO projects going on since the 40s or even earlier in the military. So if that's part of it, it'll be interesting to see, because that came out, and I want to say that was passed either in November or December. So then the 6 months starts ticking from that point. So that would say sometime around May, June, we're looking at a whole lot of documents getting released, and that's going to make all the ufologists go fucking ape shit, and it is going to blow up everywhere.
They're going to get chubs, my friend. Chubs in the ufology. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, baby.
Chubs, huh?
I've got one now. We'll call it for UFOs.
Their penises are going to become erect from excitement about the extraterrestrial.
Engorged with information.
What does he mean, chubs over there?
So, and I mean, if you guys really want to get caught up, most ufologists for the last 20 years know a man by the name of Bob Lazar. He's one of the biggest whistleblowers in the history of ufology as far as UFOs go. And there's a great documentary that came out in 2018?
2018, Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Probably one of the best names, right? If you think about just creativity for a name.
And searchability, right?
Yeah, Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Everybody, and you're all great documentary. What's it about?
So to kind of paraphrase about Bob Lazar worked for the government. He worked at Area 51 in a location called S4, which is normally like a tech area when it's labeled that designation on a site. So he worked in Area S4 on Area 51.
It's like a little bit south of Area 51, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's in the same base though, right?
Yeah.
So,
same vicinity.
So in that, he says that he was hired there to reverse engineer alien craft, and specifically the propulsion technology and engines and the power source of the alien craft. The interesting thing about Bob Lazar is the story that he said from the very beginning has not changed at all in 30 years.
Yeah. And I do have to say one more thing about Bob Lazar too. If you guys haven't seen him, he is probably your picture perfect replica in what you would see in the dictionary if you look up child molester. That's all I'm going to say right there. He does kind of look like...
He looks like Stephen King.
Yeah, he's your typical dad from like the early 80s, late 70s with the thick glasses and the short shorts. And
he does look like Stephen King, but he looks like Stephen King met Macaulay Culkin, and he's got like a horrible diagnosis of something, and he's been going through chemo for a little while. He's just much thinner.
There's like a slender-faced Stephen King.
Yeah, kind of creepy. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Like Jeff said, that's what everybody looked like back in the day. So carry on.
So he worked at Area 51. He reverse engineered this. He said that one of the elements used for the power source was alien made. He called it element 115, and everyone thought he was full of shit, right? Said I went to MIT. I went to Caltech.
Yeah.
There's no record of MIT or Caltech having him. He said he worked at LANL, Los Alamos National Lab. There's no record of LANL ever having him work there. However, now there is a phone book from the Los Alamos National Labs in 1982 that clearly has Bob Lazar's name on there with the phone number that he was to his office.
To be fair, it says Robert Lazar, so it did throw, the big gumshoes off the trail because it said Robert instead of Bob.
Right.
Nobody knows that if Bob is short for, okay.
Bob is short for Mike. So, also when he moved there, so he had a fascination with rockets, right? And he was into building rocket bikes, rocket cars. He was just that kind of a nerd, right? He was into like probably land speed record type stuff is what he was shooting for. But rocket scientist, right? Super dumb guy. And so in Los Alamos, when he got there, they actually ran a story about the guy because of his rocket stuff. And it was a little story about, look, we have this new guy here. He builds rocket bikes and rocket cars. And so that paper, that still exists. So there's that proof that he was there. There's the phone book that they didn't scrub. So in all the counts, it potentially looks like Bob Lazar's background and information, having ever worked at Area 51, having ever gone to Caltech or MIT, it might have been scrubbed because there's other records and personal accounts that validate him being at these places, being at these facilities, being at these colleges. But if you go to look at official records, there's nothing.
Well, I think it's fair to assume and say that Bob Lazar has been vindicated multiple times now, and I think your background is probably another one of them, right? Element 113 or whatever that actually did become an element and was found like what 5 or 10 years after he originally talked about, and we thought it was batshit crazy, is legit.
It's on the periodic table, right?
Yeah, they put it on the periodic table.
The unique bone density hand scanner that he said was a requirement to get into the facility that he worked on, that everybody thought was, again, Looney Tunes kind of crazy futuristic shit, is legit, and they have them now. You can purchase them. So there's a lot of things which kind of, again, makes me pretty excited and a little bit anxious about what else we're going to figure out, because that all this shit is real. It seems like he wasn't crazy at all.
Well, yeah, they also have, his family members, people he used to work with, people he went to school with, that were asking them, and they all verified everything and said, like, this guy is, he's telling the truth. They all said, like, this, I believe him 100%. Like, I don't think that this guy would make up any of this, and I think that he's a very honest, truthful person, and I don't think that he would be making any of this stuff up. So, I mean, that kind of backs his credibility up a lot, because there's a good chunk of people that actually have known him for his whole life, and they're all, saying that everything that he's saying is the truth.
Yeah, so, and in addition to that, Bob, we had talked prior to the show too. I wasn't very familiar with the Wilson report, right? But this obviously goes very parallel to and gives him even more credibility. Bob, get into that a little bit here, because you were actually the guy that kind of brought that to my attention as well, which I thought was enlightening.
So the Wilson report is interesting. So I'm doing research for this, and I'm just going over Bob Lazar's stuff, and I pop on a Joe Rogan episode. I don't remember which episode it was. Sorry, nerds. But he was on there with the director of the Netflix 2018 documentary about Bob.
Jeremy Corbell.
Thank you. And so he's talking to him about all of a sudden, Joe Rogan asked a question, and then Jeremy chimes in. He's like, actually, there's a report that kind of corroborates this story from Bob. And he was talking about the reverse engineering aspect, right? And so he's like, have you ever heard of the Wilson report? And, Joe's like, no, I fucking lift weights and do steroids. I don't know about that. Right. So
hey, it's not steroids, it's alpha brain. Everybody knows that. Come on.
That's right. So does my Facebook feed. So on there, he's just like, yeah, there's this report. There's a lot of hearsay about, is this real? Is this not real or whatever? And he says, but I actually have it from insider information that this conversation happened. So in 2002, Eric Davis, who was a scientist, right, met with Admiral Wilson. I forget his first name. I had it pulled up, but anyway, a sitting naval admiral at the time, right? And basically, this guy was a deputy director of the DIA, which is
not Denver International Airport, like you may all be thinking, but what is it? The Defense Intelligence
Defense Intelligence Agency, right? And specifically, his job was like oversight and research for getting information and research out to military personnel, right? So as a deputy director, obviously he's in oversight. So he goes up to an unnamed defense contractor, but he said it was one of the top several, an elite defense contractor, which to me tells me that it was probably Lockheed or the like, one of the largest defense contractors out there. But anyway, this document basically explains. Oh, did I close it? I think I closed it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so basically, it's a conversation that Eric Davis had with Admiral Wilson, kind of going over all of this, and he says basically, I had a phone conversation with this defense contractor, and there was 3 of them. It was the, director of security. It was a lawyer for them, and it was another, director, something like, high level positions, right? And so he said, I need to get in and look at your research and development into reverse engineering alien craft. And they're like, well, we need to have a meeting. Right. So he goes on site and he talks to these 3 guys. And then they basically said that you don't have authority to oversee this. And he's like, no, I'm actually the person that has authority to oversee this.
He's all, this is what I was hired to do.
I want to know, what's going on. I want transparency. I need to know all of this because this is literally my job. I'm that guy. Right. So, and then they're like, well, we're not going to grant you need to know, even though your clearance level is where it needs to be. And so then he goes to the Pentagon and says, hey, these guys won't give me need to know. And then they basically, long short is, yes, we're going to then sustain the decision of the defense contractor, and we're also not going to grant you need to know.
Yeah.
And
so basically somebody that was need to know by definition of their job title was like, yo, no, that is the guy. That's really him. But no, you still don't get to hear. No, you don't get to know.
Yeah, and this is the defense contractor. This is not like it was a government agency. This is a private business working for the government that absolutely needed government oversight, because that's how government works. That's how feds oversee government contractors. But in this case, this government contractor was given carte blanche to reverse engineer this craft. So when he asked them specifically, let's see if I can find it here.
Well, I'm gonna fill the time here, a little bit of dead air, and just have a drink of my Corona.
I love dead air.
Mm-hmm.
Take a sip of my alien rim job.
Like how you went with the rib job, Hal. I like that. Yeah.
It's called a ARJ.
Yeah.
Alien rim job.
You're a giver. You're a giver, my friend.
I'm a pitcher, not a catcher. As we all know.
You got to mix it up, Jeff.
Right, I know.
Well, basically, I can't find it off the top of my head, but basically he was just like, well, I want to know, do you guys have any craft? And then the lawyer's like, you can go ahead and tell them. And they said, we do have alien craft. And he said, well, is it Russian or Chinese or something? You're just using UFO as a cover. And he said, no, impossible. These things were not built from this world. We do have crafts that we're trying to reverse engineer. And they did let him know. And basically he said UFOs are real. So-called alien abductions are not. And then he, took it up. And like I said, after he went to the Pentagon with his denied access, they basically told him to drop the matter. But this memo is all captured and then leaked. So this is a leaked memo that came out. I don't even know, in the last couple of years.
We'll share. We can share it in the notes, right? Like on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. I'll at least share the link of where I downloaded it from. But
because this is just validation right here that, like, yes, alien crafts are real. The silly abductions, not so much, but you can't know any more about it. But yes, absolutely. Yes.
Right. And this is, potentially one of the biggest confirmations of alien crafts and government conspiracies and cover-ups that, we've ever heard about or been presented with, since the newspaper reported on the crash in Roswell.
Did you guys get my video?
I did. I recently uploaded the last one here but I have the other couple on my phone. I watched the last one too.
That's not. Bob, did you watch it?
I haven't seen it yet. No. Scott was bogarting.
Yeah, I was bogarting him.
Bogarting.
But yeah, that's what I was doing.
It's a pretty interesting little video, just for everybody watching to know what I'm talking about here. I was followed by something that looks to me like some sort of alien craft here, like a saucer that was following us. My buddy of mine went from Alhambra, California to Ontario, California, which is about an hour and a half drive. 3 a.m. We were driving to meet a friend of ours, and on our way up to Ontario, my friend spotted something that was right next to us that looked like a saucer, like a huge ship that was like glowing. And he was like, oh my God, look at that, it's a UFO. And I said, no, it's not. It's probably a helicopter or airplane or something. And we kept going, and it stayed right next to us. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that is a saucer. Shit. So I got my phone and I started recording. And the craft followed us from Alhambra to Ontario for the whole hour and a half. And we were hauling ass. We were doing like 80, 90 miles an hour, and it stayed right next to us the whole time. And then when we got to my buddy's apartment complex and we pulled into the apartment complex, the craft stopped, and it was just right in front of us. And I was videotaping it the whole time, and I had the whole thing on videotape. Because, a lot of these, incidences, if you think about it, if you ever witnessed a UFO, if you thought you saw something, you're not going to want to tell people, because then you sound like a nut job. You sound like a complete idiot. So,
this is true.
You know what I mean? So if you have video evidence, at least you don't sound that crazy. So, I videotaped the whole thing, and if you zoom in on it, there's a point where I kind of zoom in on my camera, and then if you zoom in from like a still picture frame, it's a saucer. You know what I mean? It's a pretty big saucer, and it's pretty unexplainable to see what it was. And then when we went to the gas station, which is right around the corner, there was like 20 people out there filming it. And they're like, oh my God, look at this. You know, there's
Well, that gives you validation right there too. You're like, look, am I just tripping on some water I shouldn't have drank? You know what I mean? Or
Right.
something. Or
I know,
okay,
because
there's other people that are thinking this is pretty outrageous too. Like this is not a normal thing. A weather balloon or airplane just like flying over us right now.
Right. Well, I mean, most people would say like, okay, what are you smoking meth or what? Are you high? You know what I mean? Like, what is actually? What kind of drugs are you on? Like, no, man, I wasn't the only one that saw this. There was a bunch of people out there that were filming it that saw the same thing that I did. The only difference is that it actually followed us. Okay. And then when we left my friend's apartment complex, it followed us all the way back, you know, and I would videotape the whole thing. And then when we got back to my house, it was like circling around my house. So I was pretty scared. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, I thought maybe the cops were flying saucers now. You know what I mean? I didn't know.
The new drone.
You know?
I was like, fuck, defund the police. They pumped a lot more money in there now if this is what they got going on.
Here's the thing, you mentioned the drone, Bob. It was like, you know, when I was videotaping it, I mean, the whole incident when we were still in the parking lot filming it, I mean, that was a good 30 minutes that I filmed just standing there. An actual drone, a real drone flew right overhead of us. And it had like red and light flashing lights, like almost like a police drone. And it circled around us. And I was like, why is there's a real drone now flying overhead of us while I'm filming the saucer. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And then that drone there was a weird light that came out from the middle of that drone. I swear to God, like it came out from the middle of the inside of that drone and it took off like really fast. And we were like, oh my God, what was that? We're screaming, acting like little girls in the parking lot. It was pretty crazy.
It is pretty interesting too that you would probably say a lot of people would call bullshit and be like, it was probably just a drone. You're like, no, I see a drone right now. That's really weird. What's this other fucking thing over here? So that's interesting too. That gives you a little bit of differentiation, you know, whatever. Right. So yeah, just obviously it's not the same thing. So interesting, man. And, I, you know, obviously I'm sleeping at the wheel a little bit. I'll make sure those videos are shared and we can share them with the
put them out there, you know.
We'll probably have them playing right now when we edit. As you're telling the story, I'm probably gonna put that video on.
A little bit of
I have you know, because I have a lot I videotapes you know, maybe like 15 minutes or 10 minutes and then I cut off and then I can't come back a couple minutes later. You know what I mean? So there's probably a total of like I think 7 or 8 videos that I have.
Well, we'll take all the best parts and we'll splice them together.
Absolutely. And then 3 days later, I saw it again. So 3 nights after that, we went to go get cigarettes at like 2 or 3 in the morning. We drove to the Chevron, which is like a mile from my house. And we got in the car. I was like, there it is again. And it was following us again 3 nights later.
You know, it's that goddamn liberal fucking alien following Jeff around everywhere.
Well, I'm going to say that I don't think you're bullshitting because I've had 2 separate instances in Aliens. Once in 96, it was around 1 or 2 in the morning, doing some mischievous deeds with some fellow juniors and seniors. And we saw 3 orbs bounce around in Los Angeles, New Mexico, and they just kind of bounce around the sky at incredible rates of speeds and then come to stops. And they're just kind of doing different things, flying in formation, flying individually, and then all of a sudden they just go. And they don't just like leave; they leave away because they all get smaller and disappear. So they're leaving away from us, outward of the atmosphere. So that was a very interesting night. Another time, Jess and Daring and I were driving around Albuquerque, and we saw an object in the sky that looked like a saucer. And that fucker was there for 20 minutes. It just didn't move. And then finally we turned a corner and we looked and it was gone. But we were watching this thing as we're driving all over town thinking, what the fuck is that? All right. And again, it obviously it wasn't a helicopter because we kind of know what they look like. And it was definitely not a plane. So it was something in the sky. So
I'm very, as you guys know, I'm a very logical guy. You know what I mean? I'll sit back and like, view my options here. Okay, it could be this, it could be that. I mean, am I that high to where I'm hallucinating? You know what I mean? Like
that's a potential logical
seriously, I'm like, well, maybe I'm too high. I haven't got enough sleep to where I'm hallucinating. You know, I put in all of these factors into what it is that's possibly there. If we ever do an episode about ghosts, I have a clear ghost on videotape, also like an apparition walking through my wall.
I can almost guarantee around Halloween you'll get your chance, buddy.
Awesome. But when you see this video, you'll be like, oh my God, like no one's ever seen that video and not been like, okay, that's real. But Another show.
Which, by the way, I was going over some Halloween shows a little while back, and Scott, you totally called the 2021 riot. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Scott
I don't know if I should be happy about this.
He said we're having a riot in 2021 in DC because there was an election in 2020.
Yeah, and I said no matter what happens, some faction of people are going to be super fucking pissed and seek revenge or something like that. And
that's pretty broad. You know, it is like I predict people are going to be angry after the election now.
No. Yeah, but that there was going to be unrest, and let's face it, I think it could have happened either way. I see an equal crazy amount of people. Like, they don't represent everybody, but there's a crazy amount of people, extremists on each side, that go nuts if they don't get their way. And whatever.
Well, there's also been our fair share of fortune telling on this show. So
hey,
kind of an ongoing thing.
We
got to be careful of what we say about the future, because
this is true.
Sometimes things happen.
I hate that time that's going to happen really soon, where I become a multi-billionaire. I feel sorry for everybody else. Everybody else like do 9 to 5s. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, when that happens,
they call him Scostradamus.
Well, hey guys, great conversation about this. So I feel, for sake of time here, we got to take a step to the final topic here. Little fun. We're going to keep with the theme though, guys. Hal, this might be, I don't know if you saw this or not, this might be sprung on you right here, right now. But with all the great alien extraterrestrial just stewing and brewing right now that's going on in our heads, and hopefully we'll project to the rest of the world here. We're thinking about alien movies, right? And extraterrestrial movies, and hey, you know what? It's a great subgenre of movies there. And obviously, how we like to rank things when we get to this part of the show. So what are the best? What's the best alien movie out there? Maybe some runner-ups. Give it a little in there. Jeff, do you want to go first?
Sure.
I see your hand raised. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, right here, please. Over here. To the gentleman in the blue t-shirt. No, I'm going to go number 1, Contact. I love Contact. I think Contact
is a great film.
Awesome movie.
And I know how you love Jodie Foster too. So
yeah. I just wish there's no sexual her being raped scenes, anything like that. But hey, no. Contact, number 1. Fire in the Sky, number 2.
It's a good one.
You've seen Fire in the Sky. That's also another good movie. I recently saw this movie. It's about a little town in Alaska. Have you seen that movie where it's half real footage and then half movie? It's about
Is it Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind?
Yes, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind.
Mila Jovovich in that.
Yeah, that's right, Bob. Well done.
Love some Mila.
I thought that movie was pretty good, actually. It was kind of creepy, actually.
No, it's a great movie.
I'm going to go with those are my top 3. Besides that, no, throw E.T. in there. I love that E.T., E.T.'s
like
not
that.
bad. But Contact is definitely my favorite movie, because if you think about it, I mean, not only do they film that in Socorro, which is kind of cool, in the array of satellites down there, but there's a lot of validity to that. What would actually happen if they did release information to the public? Because that movie's about Jake Busey comes out and becomes like a crazy spiritual guy, and he finds out there really is something besides God out there, and he's like, no, this isn't our plan, and he ends up blowing up the device that they make, because that would actually happen. I think if they release that information to the public, you'd get a lot of spiritual nutbags coming out and start blowing shit up. So I'm gonna go with Contact and Fire in the Sky. Those are definitely my 2 favorite.
I'll go with 2 as well. I'm gonna go a different track here. Yours are more reality based driven. Like, this could happen. Mine are just total fucking just obviously fictitious. But I'm gonna go with a kind of a cheesy, you'll say, B movie, John Carpenter movie from 1988 with They Live, with my boy Rowdy Piper.
Nice, dude.
Number fucking 1. And honestly, that's just a badass fucking. It's a badass story. Great movie. Huge wrestling fan in the 80s. So no, I really think that's my standout right there. And then on the darker side of things, again, not really reality driven, I'm gonna have to say Predator 1 is gonna be a standout. I thought about that and Alien, you know what I mean? And I think Alien has the better run, the better series of movies. But damn, Predator 1 with Arnie, you know what I mean? And fucking and Jesse Ventura too, There's some classics in there.
Carl Weathers is in there.
Oh, dude, Carl Weathers, dude, yeah, you've got Apollo in there too, for Christ's sakes. How can you go wrong with Apollo in there?
That
But
movie's awesome.
those are my top two. There's obviously a lot of other great, more serious ones, but I kind of like the ridiculous over the top. But Bob, what about you, baby?
Oh, I've got a few.
I've got a few. He's like, let me get out my list.
Here comes the list.
So I'll start off with kind of my moral interjection into the story stuff. The Day the Earth Stood Still. Very good movie.
The original?
I'm a Keanu guy.
Oh, the Keanu one. Wow.
Hey,
I wasn't expecting that.
Well, so, Keanu's he's a big friend of the show too. You know what I mean?
He is very, very close to the show.
Right.
Also, I really liked The Arrival, the one from a few years back.
Yeah,
I have.
Amy Adams?
Yeah, ABC, and I had to clarify that because I'm a huge fan of The Arrival with Charlie Sheen in 1996. It's a great one right there. Probably a top 5 for me, but go ahead.
So then we have, I think Aliens, the Aliens franchise, you know.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Yeah.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Alien.
You know?
Yeah,
that kind of shit, and right up until Prometheus just a few years ago.
What a great prequel right there! I just
very good series, very scary. But I think my favorite all-time Alien movie just might be Total Recall.
Right.
I know you don't get a lot of aliens in it, just a little bit of like at the end, you know what I mean? But
he's like, hey,
definitely there.
I've got 5 kids to feed.
That's right, and the original. The new one sucked.
That's my nose too, you know. Stick it way up there until you hear the crunch. Huh?
He's all cool. I'm with you guys, and the whole that and Quado are your 2 key aliens in that movie. The guy that has the stomach as the alien, classic.
The funny thing about that movie is they had to come out with the lady with the 3 tits. They had to put that in the second in the one too. You know,
you have to.
Oh, baby, you make me wish I had 3 hands.
So there's probably a few that we're missing, and I'm sure that Linz will fucking grill us over it, but
hey, I thought Signs was a good movie too, just to throw that out there. Great Mel Gibson, great M. Night Shyamalan movie. Probably his only movie I like, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's a weird
he's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, there's the endings of his movies are just kind of like, what? Really?
Yeah.
How about series? Do you guys remember Alien Nation or V?
Oh my God, Alien Nation, the actual TV show was great. And then they made a movie with James Caan was in it, dude. Great movie. Like
I was a big fan of Alien Nation and V. I was really good strong on V, and I can't believe it got canceled after 1 season.
Well,
you go Star Wars. You know what I mean? If you want to throw Star Wars out there, that's
I just have to mention too, I think it's funny, out of what we talked about, alien subgenre movies, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's on 2 of them from 2 different people. Not too bad, Arnold. Not too bad, baby.
Yeah, cracking out some good, maybe he's an alien. Yeah.
He frequents our lists, dude. He's in there a lot.
We're 80s kids. If he wasn't the biggest fucking thing in like the 80s and early 90s, and you weren't American, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I'm just
straight
gonna
up
leave it at that.
But, dude, Predator is awesome, man. That was a good call.
Gotta love that one. But I did, guys, fucking super fun show. I think we're about done, baby. You wanna bring us home, Bobby?
Jeff Howe, thank you so much for joining us all the way out from LA, man. Thank you for taking the time and being here with us and the great conversation. We really appreciate you joining us for a drink.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me, and thank you guys for having me. It's good seeing you guys. You know, obviously we've been friends for a long time, so it's good to be here. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Honestly, it was fun, and I think dynamically for the conversation and with some more depth, it just gave another layer, another interesting layer.
And I'll tell you this: the pleasure is all on this side of the table.
So, what would you say you do here?
Well, thanks again, everyone. You know the drill. Like and subscribe. Patreon is always there. If you want to contribute to the show, or you can always hit us up in the comment section. Email us at scottorbob@thestifftruth.
I've got a not so subtle jingle for that too. Become a Patreon, support the show, or you're an asshole. How's that? You think that'll get people?
That's right. What did a couple of shows ago say during our break? Don't be a bitch, be a patron or something like that.
Yeah, I think it rings true. That's all I'm saying, guys. I mean, let that marinate. Let that marinate out there. You know what I mean, baby?
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. This is The Stiff Truth, and we will see you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys.